This is our basic CommVault lab, version 11 lab. It's really going to consist of one, what is this, CommServe, the media agents, two of those, and then the storage policy. In total, you're looking at four, four actual pieces of devices. So one is the Windows box, which is the CommServe. The media agent, one of the media agents is a Windows box server. The other media agent is a Linux box, Ubuntu. And then the storage policy is an piece of software called OpenFiler. So our IP addresses, the names, the host names, the IPs of the CommServe are going to be Win Server CMVLT CS1. So basically, the IP address is going to be 172.16.30.3. The media agent for the Windows is going to be Win Server CMVLT MA1. These are 15 character host names, and it follows the line as you will. And the storage policy naming convention is the same, 15 characters. So our domain name is going to be garlicfood.local. The subnet mask is a 24 CIDR or 24-bit, 255.255.255.0. The default gateway is 172.16.30.1. The default gateway is where the first port that the device hits before the internet or before going out to another router or another switch. And then the DNS server, that's going to be 172.16.30.2. That is how I'm going to get internet essentially out there. My domain controller is the 172.16.30.2. And then finally, we are going to do the CommServe DR. So this is a Windows server that, and just in case your CommServe blows up or whatever, you have a CommServe ready, a DR, disaster recovery CommServe ready, and then you could build one. And all you have to do is put in the CommServe, what is it, a temp file, I believe it is. You just have to upload that, change a couple things, and you're up and running. The media agents, let me go back to this. The media agents, you could lose those with no problem. They're no big deal. You can rebuild those all day. The CommServe is the one that takes a lot of time to do it, right? And then the storage policy is just a pointer. You're pointing the CommServe to the storage policy. So this is the ESXi host that my stuff is running on. You'll see that I have a Windows 2012 server. I have an Ubuntu Unix box. I have a Active Directory server. I have a CommServe, and then I have an OpenFiler. So that's my lab essentially. And I got this from Joe's Datastore.com. Pretty good deals on servers. It's the physical. This is my own ESXi host. I don't share it with anybody. It's about $30 a month roughly. I got 8 gig of RAM for this, so that's pretty nice. Okay, on with the course.
So in order to install your lab on an environment, you need some sort of like ESXi host or VirtualBox of some sort like that, or a service that you have virtual servers in. Anyway, so how do you get that? You can download VirtualBox, which is recommended if you don't want to. If you want to go the non-payment route, just download VirtualBox. It's free. So just type in your Google search bar there, and then just first link, right? It's called Oracle VirtualBox. This allows you to actually host or to have virtual machines inside your computer. Basically, it's a environment inside your computer that you can install virtual machines on. Many, it depends on how big how much memory you have, right? So click on one of the links, the VirtualBox, and at the time of this, it's VirtualBox 5.2. So most likely you have a 64-bit OS. So let's click on download a VirtualBox. Click on the VirtualBox 5.2 18 Platinum platform packages. Click on the Windows hosts. When it's done downloading, right click on it, run as administrator, and let's go through the steps. Okay, we're going to just leave everything default and click next. Okay, so custom setup, we're just going to leave everything default checked and click next. So what this means is it's going to create another network interface card for your computer that's just for VirtualBox, and this is why you're going to get this error like warning network interfaces are going to restart and will be unavailable, right? It's just temporary, so we're going to click yes, and let's do install. Okay, let's click finish and let's start Oracle VirtualBox. So we're going to actually update our extension pack as well. So we're going to download that from the internet. So it's going to give us USB 3.0. It's going to give us webcam capabilities, disk encryption, and then NVMe capabilities. Click on upgrade, then scroll down, read all that, of course, agree, and successfully upgrade or install the extension pack. We have VirtualBox, we have the extension pack, all that's ready, right? So now let's just simulate like a new computer. Go to new, type in our case, we just typed in Ubuntu server and click next. You're going to give it the amount of memory you needed. If you only have, 4 gig of RAM on your computer, you want to play around with this and install a server that doesn't take a lot of memory up. Linux, I would start with Linux, like maybe Linux Mint, Ubuntu, Puppy Linux, just to name a few. Fedora is a good one. Very nice feel for that. It does take memory, but it's although there is versions of it that don't take a lot of memory, but that's a very nice one as well. Fedora. We're going to give ours like 512 RAM or something like that, and click next. A couple different options. Based on like Linux, it'll tell you recommended size is 10 gig. This doesn't create a thick client. This is just like a bottle of let's say, imagine like a glass of water, or an empty glass, if you will, right? Empty glass being 10 gig, but your install could only be like a gig. That's all your install. So it's only going to take up as much as it needs, but the container's still there to say, okay, I have this much, I can use this much, but I'm only going to take how much I need, and that's probably most likely the simplest way I can explain it for thick and thin clients. So we're going to do create a new hard drive, virtual hard drive. Okay, if you wanted to, so difference between these three, right? You have the VDI, not virtual desktop information, or interface, if you will, like Citrix VDI, not that. VirtualBox disk image. That's the cleanest, leanest virtual hard drive basically it uses. The other one you have is VHD. Typically that's used on Hyper-V or any Windows. And then you have VMDK. Those are typically used in Windows, rather ESXi host or VMware. So for instance, if you got to a point where you were just standing up a VirtualBox because you want to one day actually send it over to an ESXi host, and then you would use VMDK that way. So we're going to select VDI actually and click next. Dynamically allocated versus fixed size. Fixed size is, again, glass of water or a cup of water or a container, and it says, okay, 10 gig. Okay, I'm going to allocate that 10 gig just for you, right? The cup, if you will. And you put it, no matter how much information you put in, I'm going to allocate that 10 gig. Versus dynamic allocated is you have that container and you're only going to use 1 gig or something like that. That's the difference between the two actually. Same thing as thick and thin client. Thin client meaning thin client is like dynamic, thick client is like fixed size. Click next. Here's where we go. We can select how much space. First you can select where the hard drive is going to be stored. That's really key. So if you have a NAS, a network attached storage device, you can point it there. So your Windows box doesn't get a lot of memory, or rather a lot of hard drive space taken up. You can just send it somewhere else. You can even send it to a USB hard drive if you wanted to, and that's where you click on here and you can send it wherever you want. And it puts it in a default location, VirtualBox, but again, you can put it anywhere you want. And again, the size, even though it says 10 gig, it's not actually going to be 10 gig unless it's fixed size, then it'll be 10 gig. But since it's dynamically allocated, it's going to be however much data that install takes. So we're going to click on create. There you go. So you do this with Windows, you can do it with Linux. If you wanted to actually put an ISO file on it, you right click on it and you select settings, click on storage, click on empty, almost looks like a spinning disk, click on the optical drive, choose the location of your Linux Ubuntu server, attach the Linux ISO file, and then click OK. After that, click on the actual VM and right click and click start. And just follow the tutorial or follow the actual steps installing Ubuntu or Rockstore or Windows or whatever OS you have. Thank you for viewing this tutorial. Get Windows 2012 server so that you can install it as a either a server. So this is going to serve as your CommServe, your media agent, and also your client, Windows client, right? The other thing is it's going to serve for is your Active Directory domain controller. So first things first, type in your favorite browser, Google or Google. Go down to, Microsoft 2012 server, right? And when you do that, it's going to pull up a bunch of things. And the one I chose was the Microsoft.com / this deal here is what I chose right here. And then just open that up. Okay, here's the site right here. Cool thing about this is Evaluation Center. If you ever, or just Google Microsoft Evaluation Center if you desire. It has pretty much everything, right? So you have your Windows 2016 server, your Hyper-V, the Admin Center. So we're just going to use this guy here, Windows Server 2012. You click on ISO, and you push continue. And of course, you need to log in, have an account. Just create an account, Hotmail or whatever it is, right? MSN.com or Hotmail.com account, so that you can download it, the ISO file. And that's going to serve you well. And you get 180 days. That means from the time you download it, from the time that you install it, you just have 180 days until it expires, right? But you can just install it again and it'll work. So it's not a big deal with that. The only drawback is that you don't have the up-to-date features like 2016 does. 2012. So we're going to download 2012. Once that's downloaded, put it on we're going to go to our Datastore and then upload it there. So we're at our ES6i host. Mine is, of course, hosted by Joe's Data Center, joesdatacenter.com. Anyway, so click on Storage and click on Datastore 1, Datastore Browser. And I've actually already put it in here, right? So here it is right here. It's this guy, I believe. Let me see. Oh, it's this one right here. Yeah, it's this server. This is the image right here, the ISO file. So that's what it is right there. So once you have that, you're ready to actually install you're actually ready to stand up your own instance of Active Directory. But of course, before we stand up the Active Directory, we need to actually install Windows itself, the actual Windows OS server 2012. So let's do that. So we're at the ES6 host. We're going to create a new VM actually, really. So click on, yeah, what is, okay, so create register VM, click on that. Then we're going to do create new virtual machine. Then we are going to name our virtual machine. We're going to name our server Windows Active 12, meaning Windows Active Directory 12. 15 characters is usually what I've always done. 15 characters. For instance, your first 3 digits can be, let's just break it down real quick here. So here's how the naming convention works, right? So let's say, for instance, we're in Dallas, right? So we're going to do, okay, here we go. We're in Dallas. So our server is a Windows server, right? Okay, so Windows Server, it is, so that's a Windows Server. So let's do like this, Win SRVR. Okay, so then what type of server is this? Active Directory? Active Directory. Okay, so we're going to put WINSRVR, so it's an Active Directory server, AD, right? And then it's in Dallas. We notice it's in Dallas, right? So we'll go Dallas, right? And then, so what are we at here? We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that's how we get our 15 characters. And you could use this for any server, really, actually, you know, whatever you're at. So let's say it's a Windows server, and it is, let's get a little real estate here. It's a Windows server, and it's a SharePoint server, so SP. And then let's say it's not in Dallas, it's in Chicago, SHI, right? Okay, 001. This is good naming practice, by the way. 15, yeah, 15 characters to use for your server. So you know, think of it like this: how you name your server tells people, oh, where it's at. If you have 1,000 servers and you don't name your server, like, okay, Windows server, okay, got it, I know that's a Windows server, right? Okay, SP, okay, SharePoint, okay. So what you'll have is you'll have like a little cheat sheet, right, for everybody. So it'll say, okay, SP means SharePoint, AD means Active Directory, and then in your little almost like airport codes, right? I guess you could ORD, I think, is the airport code for Chicago, but you could do Shy as well. So that also SharePoint, Shy, Chicago, and then 001. You want to fill it in 15 characters. I see some places they have like 12 characters. It'll be like, I mean, this is an example, right? I've actually seen customers where they actually, put their server names like this. Like, how do I have no idea what that means. PR, what does that mean? I have no idea. Who can just, that's it's like code. It's like, cryptographic code here. I don't know. Make it simple. Make it real simple for people to understand. And name it across the board like these. This is very simple. You can go in and anybody can edit it. I'm not edit it, but anybody oh, okay, I know. Oh, that's Dallas. Oh, that's Chicago. New York City, NYC. Too easy, right? I mean, getting the practice of this. I know this is like a lab and development environment, but getting the practice of doing this in your home lab and how you actually name your devices. That way, when you get in the real world and you have influence and you can make changes like this, you can say, "Oh no, well, this is the way that I learn, the best," or this is the way that should we want to name our host names for every server. That way, we know where it's at, and we can, oh, okay, boom, boom, boom. For this particular instance, we're just going to name ours Active 12, Windows Active 12, because we're just doing a test here, right? I'm going to just show you how to install it and all that. So create a new virtual machine, and we're going to name it Windows 12, Active 12. So it's a Windows server, and it is a, look at all these nice ones. I mean, these are, what this means is anytime you choose these, that will tell the ESXi host, okay, typically these Windows boxes have 4 gig or 2 gig or 20 gig hard drive. That's all it is. That's the whole reason behind this, by the way. That's the reason why you name them, or gives you drop down, right, to give the ESXi host some sort of like predetermined template to go off of. Since ours is a, what are we at, 2012 64-bit? Yeah, so we're going to use Windows Server 2012 64-bit. We're going to click next. Go choose our data store. Next. Yeah, well, Windows does use a lot of memory, but we're not going to do that. We're going to give it 1024 gig of RAM. Okay, here's the important part, right? I know I mentioned this earlier with the Ubuntu one. Same thing here applies. Thin provision. Thin provision means I have a can of water. It's just a cup rather, right? Just a cup. I have 40 gig worth of cup of whatever, right? It's just a cup. What I do is when I install the OS, it's going to fill in, I don't know, it's like 2 gig or something like that, right? So what happens is the amount of space you use is only 2 gig. That's it. That's all it is. That's what that means, thin provision. Let me, basically, hey, give me a can, a large bottle, right? But I'm only going to put like 2 gig in there. Just give me that much though. Give me like 40 gig worth so I can put 2 gig in. I may use more, but I don't know. Just give me, let me get it. So thick provision, lazily zeroed and eagerly zeroed. So lazily zeroed is like you thick provision, you have 40 gig, right? But if it's in a data store or a larger container, to say you're going to give this hard drive 40 gig, but that 40 gig may not be in the same space. And you can imagine a candy bar, right? So 40 gig, or let's say the candy bar is 100 gig from left to right. That represents 100 gig, but you're only getting 40 gig. So lazily zeroed means 40 gig. So you're gonna own that 40 gig. That's gonna dedicate 40 gig to you, not like the thin provision where you just use what you want. Thick provision, lazily zeroed says, okay, it's a candy bar. I'm gonna break it up if needed, and you're gonna get different pieces of it, right? But you're still gonna get your 40 gig, right? That's lazily zeroed, meaning your data can be anywhere in there, but you're still gonna get your 40 gig. Now, eagerly zeroed means you have the same candy bar, but your 40 gig is either going to be in the front or the back. But it's going to be contiguous. Contiguous. It's going to be together. Your 40 gig is going to be together, and you're going to get that 40 gig 100%. So the problem with thick provision in VMware is if your data store is a terabyte and you have, say, 10 VMs and each VM is 200 gig, you can imagine, right? So what is that? Okay, so each hard drive you provision is 200 gig, and you have 1 terabyte data store. If you thick provision it, even label zeroed or eagerly zeroed, you're going to use 2 terabyte. You can't do that. It's going to be too much. So the idea is to use thin provisioning to where now you can have a 1 terabyte data store, and you can have up to 20 whatever, however many VMs you need. Those same, what did I say, 20 VMs I think I said, or 10 VMs, whatever. Those 10 VMs with 200 gig, each one of those VMs may only consume 20 gig. So you're looking at what, 400 gig max. 20 times, what did I say, 20 times 20? Yeah, 400 gig, right? Yeah, 400 gig is still um, a lot less than a terabyte. So we're going to actually choose the CD-ROM. So we're going to choose our what do you call it? Our Windows 12 2012 server. I'm going to choose that. Make sure it's good. Connected. Yep, good. Okay, next. And this is a summary tab saying, okay, this is what you're doing. This is all the nice little cool stuff, etc., etc. Yeah, good. Finish. Create it. Okay, so it's now here. So I wanted to show you something about, like, for instance, look at all the VMs I have here. I have a lot. There's a lot of VMs. So I think I have a 500 gig hard drive, something like that. Maybe. Let me see here. What do I have? Oh, I have a terabyte. So I have a terabyte of I have a terabyte gig hard drive, meaning it takes some gig to provision it, right? So, meaning I provision, meaning I'm using 281 gig, and I have 642 gig free. But some of my VMs are like 100 gig, right? But it's only using, you know, like for instance, my Active Directory server that I have here, I think that's set to like 100 gig, but it's only using 47 gig. That's the whole benefit of thin provisioning. At any rate, let's start up our Windows Active Directory Server 12. We're gonna Windows VM. So when, there's two parts to this. There's the Active Directory portion, and there's also just setting up an actual server, right? So we're gonna just set up the server, and then the next video is going to be about setting up the Active Directory. So right click on it, and we'll go power up, power on. Yeah. So you can either do right click console, open browser console. You can do open a new window, launch remote console. But if you do this one, you have to download this VMRC, which means you have to go to VMware's website and then log in and download their stuff. We're just doing the open browser console. So this is nice. So this is Windows 2012. So if you've never installed it, this is how you install it. So we're going to click on, so everything here, language, so wherever you're at. Let's say well, you can't really choose. I guess you can't choose. I guess you can't change other than your time and format. Okay, so we're going to push next. Let me make this, maybe I can make this a little bigger. Okay, there we go. So we're going to install it. Okay, couple different considerations to understand here, right? When you have the server core installation, that's the first one chosen, right? I've never done that. I do know what it is. It's basically command line installation. I have not done one. I do have patience for it, but I have yet to do it, right? So we're not going to do that. That just takes too long, and I have to a lot of learning. I have to learn a lot to do it, so we're not doing that. If you want to do it, feel free, but for me, I'm not doing it. For this tutorial, we're just doing this. So we're doing the GUI one, the simple, easy button one, right? Everybody loves easy. So we're doing the Windows 2012 Standard Edition server with GUI. So you have the data center version with GUI. We're just doing a standard. And so next, do you agree to Microsoft's license? Of course we do. Why would we not? We're doing a custom install. Upgrade would mean like I'm upgrading from 2008 to 2012. We're just doing a custom up. We're doing a fresh install. So we're gonna do custom. And now here it is right here. So let's say you have two hard drives, right? And here's where you can actually format them if you so desire. You can format them. There has space on it. You're using a hard drive that already has an OS from another build, let's say. Well, here's where you click on it and you can format it or delete it, right? So we're gonna click on it because there's only one. We're gonna push next. It's gonna load it, by the way. And after this, I mean, this is it really right here. This is how easy it is, really. That's it. After this, there is a login where you like it reboots, and then it says please enter your password for the administrator or whatever, and that's it. But I'll show you that, of course. But let's go ahead and let it just do its stuff. We'll come back after this is done. Well, that was quick. So after reboot, it prompted us for this. That's very cool, actually, about Windows. It's very simple when you download it. Okay, I'm gonna put the password in. You choose this, by the way, and the default username is always administrator. It's always going to be that, right? So after we're done doing this, we'll just push finish, and then it's going to log us in. So here we go. Now we're able to log into the box. So let's do that. Okay, so I just do always do I'll just do yes. I mean it's closed network, so no worries for that. What that means is your computer, you want it to like see all the other networks. So basically, if this is on a router, right, and you had other servers on that router, they could see each other in a roundabout way. It's not always it's not exactly like that, but it's something similar to that. It's not necessarily an auto discovery. It doesn't work that way, but you know, if you're on a network at like I don't know at the hotel or something, shared Wi-Fi, you definitely gonna click no on that for that one. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so we're logged in, and so this concludes this tutorial on just how to get it and how to install it. Meaning how to get Server 2012 and how to install Server 2012.